Good morning. We're going to get started. We can minimize the conversation. Thank you. We've established a quorum, and we will now have our invocation. And this morning, we have a special guest to do our invocation. We will have Councilman Kenyatta Johnson. I'll ask all members, guests, and visitors to please rise.
Thank you, Blondell. As a young man, my grandmother taught me that greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. And I want to thank all my colleagues who are working in this body on behalf of those who need a voice, on behalf of those who are in need. We please bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, I just want to thank you for getting us up this morning and watching over us, Lord, and watching over our families, Lord. And Lord, I pray that you just look out for the leadership here in this city, from members of city council up to the mayor, Lord. Lord, I pray that you always guide us and encourage us and strengthen us as we go about advocating for those most in need. But most importantly, Lord, giving us the wisdom to make decisions that's all about the people as opposed to ourselves. Lord, I pray that you always continue to encourage us and motivate us to work in transparency and decency. But most importantly, continue to put the needs of this city above ours, and all the things we ask in your name. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Councilman. Thank you. All right. Excuse me. And our next order of business is the approval of the journal of the meeting of Thursday, March 15, 2018. And the chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, March 15, 2018 be approved.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, March 15, 2018 stand approved. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. And that journal is approved. The next order of business is request for leave of absence. And the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the majority, no request of leave of absence today.
Chair thanks the gentleman. Chair now recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Republicans, there are no requests for leave of absence.
Chair thanks the gentleman. At this time, I would like to dispense with the regular order of business, and I would like to welcome, and I would particularly like to thank everybody who has come down in these challenging weather times to come to see your government in action. So I just want to say today we genuinely appreciate you being here. We hope that your stay here today is a pleasurable one, so much so that you come back again. Again, thank you for being here. At this time, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown, who will present a resolution honoring Monica Malpass. With Ms. Malpass and those accompanying her, please join the Councilwoman at the podium. And joining Councilwoman Reynolds Brown, we have Councilwoman Blackwell, Councilman Greenlee, Councilwoman Kiona Sanchez. And we'd ask Mr. Diaz, could you come up, please? And Councilman Green. You're welcome, sir.
Good morning to colleagues, guests, and visitors. Welcome to our annual celebration of Women's History Month. On the occasion of celebrating Women's History Month, we are thrilled and delighted to bring to you another woman whom I believe walks on the water backwards, with high heels on, blindfolded, all done with style, discipline, and grace. The women of City Council are delighted and pleased to honor and recognize the career of Monica Malpass on the occasion of her 30th year anniversary as a journalist for 6ABC Philadelphia. Whereas Monica Malpass, co-anchor of 6ABC Action News, joined the station in January of 1988 and has since become one of Philadelphia's most trusted and beloved broadcasters. And
whereas Monica Malpass is host of 6ABC's news program, Inside Story, an award-winning political roundtable, along with anchoring several other public service agreements with others on 6ABC. And whereas a native of North Carolina, Monica Malpass began her career as a reporter and anchor for WXII-TV in Winston-Salem, and later on WCHL-AM in Chapel Hill. And
whereas, after receiving her BA in journalism from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, Malpass earned her MA in political science from Villanova University in Pennsylvania. Her extensive education in public affairs also includes 2 honorary doctorate degrees and graduation from the Brookings Institution's Inside Washington program. And whereas her esteemed reputation as a journalist has earned Malpass exclusive interviews with some of the nation's most prominent politicians and public figures. Over the course of her career, these figures have included former presidents Barack Obama and Gerald Ford, former vice presidents Joseph Biden and George H.W. Bush, who I think was president also, and Secretaries Hillary Clinton and Colin Powell, reporters and anchors Oprah Winfrey, Diane Sawyer, Barbara Walters, and Helen Thomas, and actors Al Pacino and Diane Keaton. And
take a point of privilege and just thank her. I joined her with Councilwoman Blondell Reynolds Brown at the Press Club recently to listen to her story. And she was just as wonderful in talking about all of the great achievements in her life and how her failures have been her motivation. So I want to thank you again for joining us and all the young women who had the honor of being with you that evening. Whereas Malpass has interviewed every governor, U.S. senator, congressperson, state senator, state representative from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the states of Delaware and New Jersey for the past 30 years, and whereas as an anchor for 6ABC, Malpass has covered notable events in the city of Philadelphia and around the world. She is a great ambassador for us. Locally, she covered the Eagles Super Bowl game in 2005, Pope Francis' visit to the U.S. in 2015. She has emceed the Pennsylvania Conference for Women on numerous occasions. Malpass has represented Philadelphia nationally and internationally, reporting on the inaugurations of President George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, the presidential campaign of Hillary Clinton, and the funeral of Princess Diana in London. And
whereas Malpass has earned many awards in recognition of her influence and accomplishments. As a journalist, beginning with her naming to the Pennsylvania Honor Roll of Women in 1996, and earning first place for Spot News from the Pennsylvania Association of Broadcasters in 1998. She was later named Broadcaster of the Year by Women in Communications, Best Female Broadcaster by the Mainline Today magazine, and has earned first place by the Society of Professional Journalists over several years. In 2006, she was inducted in the Broadcast Pioneer Hall of Fame in Philadelphia. And
whereas a dedicated public servant on and off the air, Malpass has served on the board of directors at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and the Children's Seashore House. She is also a member of the Union League of Philadelphia and volunteers with numerous local charities. Now, therefore, be it
resolved by this council of the city of Philadelphia that we hereby honor, recognize, celebrate, and lift up the extraordinary career of Monica Malpass on the occasion of her 30th year anniversary as a journalist for Philadelphia ABC News. Further resolved that an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to Monica Malpass as the sincere sentiments of this legislative body. In closing, I think your career is most captured by one of my favorite writers, Maya Angelou. A woman is convinced that she deserves to accept only the best, challenges herself to give the best. Then you have lived phenomenally. Congratulations on an extraordinary career. Of course, you know we have a wonderful tradition, and we want to bring up Nelson Diaz to present a symbol. Symbol representing the city of Philadelphia. Extraordinary person, true mentor to young people, exceptional career. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And the chair recognizes.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. I love the way it rings. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that ring. Chair recognizes Ms. Malpass for remarks.
Thank you so much. I'm truly humbled just that you're here, and my son Jake is here with me, and it brings me great honor to be all of the things that you mentioned, but most especially a mom to 3 sons. And the other 2 are 7, so I didn't think you were quite ready for both of them. Just briefly, I want to say that it has been a true privilege to work in Philadelphia and cover the news here, including many of you, for 30 years. I am so grateful to 6ABC for all the opportunities to do the stories and to make those inroads in journalism. But more than that, I'm grateful to my friends who are here, my family, and to the people who have supported me all these years in good times and bad, and I'm glad to say they're mostly good. So thank you very, very much for taking me into your hearts and to your homes and making me a Philadelphian. I appreciate it.
Councilor Biddies. Thank you, and congratulations one more time. Our next order of business is communications, and the chair requests that the Sergeant of Arms delivers the messages from the mayor to the chief clerk. Mr. Decker, please read those messages.
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, pursuant to Sections 4604 and 2307 of the Home Rule Charter, I am today transmitting to the Council the recommendation of the City Planning Commission on the following bill, Bill number 180170. And I am pleased to advise you that on March 20, 2018, I signed the following bills, which were passed by Council at a session on March 8, 2018. Bill number 170995, 170996, 171002, 171003, 171126, 171127, 171128, 171129, 171130, 180005, 180006, and 180075. And I am submitting herewith for the consideration of your honorable body an ordinance amending Section 12701 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Bicycle Lanes by authorizing the Department of Streets to designate bicycle lanes in both directions on Lansdowne Drive and South Concourse Drive from Sweetbriar Drive to 41st Street Drive in Fairmount Park, and authorizing the removal of parking pursuant to Section 12203 on both Lansdowne Drive and South Concourse Drive in the same limits. And an ordinance amending Section 12701 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Bicycle Lanes by authorizing the Department of Streets to designate bicycle lanes in both directions on Parkside Avenue from North 53rd Street to Bryn Mawr Avenue, and authorizing the removal of travel lanes in the same limits, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. You have any additional communications in your
I
possession?
have none, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Our next order of business will be introduction of bills and resolutions, and the chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. She is not there. The chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. On your behalf, I offer one resolution.
Thank you, Councilman.
A non-privileged resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 43rd Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
And that will be on next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I have one bill and one non-privileged resolution, and I'd like to be recognized after the title of the resolution being read.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance amending subsection 19-2604, subparagraph 6 of the Philadelphia Code, under which businesses that enter into agreements to make contributions to community development corporations and certain other organizations receive credits against business income and receipts taxes by increasing the number of businesses for which the credits shall be made available to.
For the committee.
And a non-privileged resolution supporting the settlement agreement reached between the United States Department of Justice on behalf of the Environmental Protection Agency and Philadelphia Energy Solutions.
Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended as to permit the resolution to be voted on in today's council session.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution will be on today's final passage calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Good morning, Mr. President. I have two bills and two resolutions, one privileged.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance amending Section 12701 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Bicycle Lanes by authorizing the Department of Streets to designate bicycle lanes in both directions on Parkside Avenue from North 53rd Street to Bryn Mawr Avenue, and authorizing the removal of travel lanes in the same limits. And an ordinance amending Section 12701 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Bicycle Lanes by authorizing the Department of Streets to designate bicycle lanes in both directions on Lansdowne Drive and South Concourse Drive from Sweetbriar Drive to 41st Street Drive in Fairmount Park, and authorizing the removal of parking on both Lansdowne Drive and South Concourse Drive in the same limits.
Refer to committee.
And a privilege resolution proclaiming and designating the week of March 18, 2018 through March 24, 2018 as National Public Defense Week in honor of the 55th anniversary of the U.S. Supreme Court decision in Gideon versus Wainwright, and in recognition of the dedication and commitment of public defenders who seek justice for our indigent populations across the country.
That'll be on this week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution also naming the 5300 block of Diamond Street as Dorian Dumas Way.
And that will, is it non-privileged? That will be on next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Brown.
Mr. President, bills and resolutions this morning for the record. I thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Council President, I have 2 privileged resolutions and 1 non-privileged resolution.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privilege resolution authorizing the Committee on Commerce and Economic Development to hold hearings examining strategies to increase diversity and inclusion in Philadelphia's technology sector.
Today's calendar.
And a privilege resolution recognizing the Taney Youth Baseball Association on the occasion of its 25th season.
Also on today's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution recommending that the United States Postal Service select Alpha Kappa Alpha founder Ethel Hedgeman Lyle for inclusion in its commemorative postage stamp collection.
And that will be on next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Kiona Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 1 bill on behalf of the administration.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
An ordinance authorizing transfers and appropriations for fiscal year 2018 from the General Fund, certain or all city offices, departments, boards, and commissions, the Grants Revenue Fund, certain or all city offices, departments, boards, and commissions, to the General Fund, certain or all city offices, departments, boards, and commissions.
And that will be referred to committee. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I have 1 privileged resolution.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privilege resolution recognizing April 2018 as Autism Awareness Month in the City of Philadelphia and honoring Dr. Wendy Ross, founder of Autism Inclusion Resources and director of the Center for Pediatric Development.
And that will be on this week's calendar. Councilwoman Rose Brown, did you have something for Councilwoman Parker?
Not yet, Mr. President.
Not yet? Okay, thank you. Oh, Councilwoman Blackwell has it? Okay. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell on behalf of
Thank you,
Councilwoman
Mr.
Parker.
President. I introduce 1 privilege resolution on behalf of Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
A privilege resolution commemorating the National Association of University Women on its Founders Day.
And that will be on this week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Don.
Good morning, Council President. I have 1 privileged resolution co-sponsored by Council members Heenan, Taubenberger, Squilla, Green, Gimm, Reynolds, Brown, and O.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A privilege resolution acknowledging and recognizing Amplify Philly, a partnership of public and private organizations that join together to highlight Philadelphia's startup and tech community and promote Philadelphia as a hub for startups at the 2018 South by Southwest Conference and Festival in Austin, Texas.
And that will be on this week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gimm.
Good morning, Council President. I have 2 privilege resolutions for today.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A privilege resolution declaring March 31, 2018 as Transgender Day of Visibility in the City of Philadelphia.
And that will be on this week's calendar.
And a privilege resolution honoring the life and activism of Rio de Janeiro City Councilor Marielle Franco and expressing solidarity with public officials and advocates across the globe who bravely speak out for human rights.
And that will also be in this week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Taubenberger.
Good morning, Council President. I have no bills or resolutions this morning.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer 2 privilege resolutions.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
A non-privileged resolution calling on the Pennsylvania Insurance Commissioner to begin an immediate investigation to determine how much of insurance companies' tax cuts should be passed on to consumers in the form of lower rates.
And that will be on next week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution calling on the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission to investigate how much of utility companies' tax cuts should be passed on to consumers in the form of lower rates.
Also on next week's calendar, the chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Council President. I offer one privilege resolution co-sponsored by Council members Blackwell, Parker, Green, Dom, and Taubenberger.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you very much.
A privilege resolution recognizing and congratulating the University of Pennsylvania men's basketball team for an outstanding season in which it earned the title of 2018 Ivy League champions and competed in the 2018 NCAA men's basketball tournament.
And that will be on this week's final passes calendar. That concludes our introduction of bills and resolutions. And our next order of business is report from committee, and the chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee for a report from the Committee of Rules.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Rules reports 5 bills with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Decker, please read that report.
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, the Committee on Rules, to which is referred Bill Number 180008, entitled An Ordinance Amending Section 14513 of the Philadelphia Code entitled TOD, Transit-Oriented Development Overlay District, to revise requirements and to designate several transit-oriented development transit stations. And Bill Number 180097, entitled An Ordinance to Amend the Master Plan for the University of Pennsylvania and to approve the proposed addition to 3620 Locust Walk. And Bill Number 180101, entitled An Ordinance to Amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Silverwood Street, Gay Street, Baker Street, and Carson Street, and to adopt the master plan for the former St. Mary of the Assumption Catholic Church and adjacent parcels. And Bill Number 180135, entitled An Ordinance Amending Chapter 14500 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Overlay Zoning Districts by adding a new section 14521 entitled STM, St. Mary's Master Plan Overlay. And Bill Number 180137, entitled An Ordinance to Amend the Philadelphia zoning maps by changing the zoning designations of certain areas of land located within an area bounded by Adams Avenue, Tabor Avenue, Harrison Street, Whitaker Avenue, Roosevelt Boulevard, Bingham Street, East Olney Avenue, North Front Street, Nedrow Avenue, Hammond Avenue, and Crescentville Road. Respectfully reports it has considered the same and returns the attached bills to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. The chair again recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bill numbers 180008, 180097, 180101, 180135, and 180137.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bills number 180, 008, 180, 097, 180, 101, 180, 135, and 180, 137. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. These bills will be placed on our first reading calendar today. The chair now recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell for a report from the Committee on Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Finance reports 9 bills with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Decker, I'm sorry. Please read that report.
The Committee on Finance, to which is referred Bill Number 170365, entitled An Ordinance Amending Chapter 19200 of the Philadelphia Code entitled City Funds, Deposits, Investments, Disbursements, by amending Section 19201 entitled City Depositories, by authorizing the City Treasurer to deposit funds in Santander Bank National Association. And Bill Number 170901, entitled An Ordinance Amending Chapter 193900 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Tax Exemptions for Long-Time Owner Occupants of Residential Properties, to extend the availability of exemptions and making related changes. And Bill Number 171110, entitled An Ordinance Constituting the 21st Supplemental Ordinance to the Restated General Water and Wastewater Revenue Bond Ordinance of 1989 as amended and supplemented, providing for certain amendments to the General Ordinance. And Bill Number 171111, entitled An Ordinance Constituting the 20th Supplemental Ordinance to the Restated General Water and Wastewater Revenue Bond Ordinance of 1989 as supplemented, authorizing the bond committee to issue and sell one or more series or subseries of tax-exempt or taxable water and wastewater revenue bonds and revenue refunding bonds. And Bill Number 180002, entitled An Ordinance Amending Title 12 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Traffic Code by providing for the reimbursement of filing fees for parking ticket appeals. And Bill number 180010, entitled An Ordinance Amending Chapter 19200 of the Philadelphia Code entitled City Funds, Deposits, Investments, and Disbursements by amending Section 19201 entitled City Depositories by authorizing the City Treasurer to deposit funds in Fulton Bank National Association. And Bill number 180096, entitled An Ordinance amending Chapter 19400 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Realty Transfer Tax by excluding from the tax a transfer of property between the Philadelphia Housing Authority and a Pennsylvania Limited Partnership, PLP, whose general partner PHA owns and controls, and a transfer of property from PHA or a PHA-controlled PLP to a wholly owned subsidiary of PHA. And Bill number 180138, entitled An Ordinance Amending Chapter 19300 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Real Estate Taxes regarding terms of payment agreements. And Bill number 180139, entitled An Ordinance Amending Section 191806 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Authorization of Realty Use and Occupancy Tax to revise the timing of the determination of assessed value under certain terms and conditions. Respectfully reports that it is considered the same and returns the attached bills to council with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of the 9 bills that were just read into the record by the chief clerk.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of bills number 170365, 170901, 171110, 171111, 180002, 180010, 180096, 180138, and 180139. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. And these bills will be placed on our first reading calendar today. That concludes our reports on committee. And the next order of business is the calendar. I note that the bills just reported from committee with a favorable recommendation and suspension of the rules have been deemed to have had a first reading. These bills and resolutions will be on our second reading and final passage calendar at our next session of council. As there are no additional bills on the first reading calendar, the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan for the purpose of calling up bills and resolutions that are on the final passage calendar today.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following resolutions and bills are being called up for second reading and final passage calendars today. Bill numbers 180243, 180245, 180-250, 180-251, 171109-A, 180012, 180170. All other resolutions and bills are being held.
Thank you, Councilman. Before considering these bills and resolutions on the final passage calendar today, we will have our public comment session. If you are interested in testifying on a bill or resolution that's on the final passage calendar today, if you haven't already signed up, you may sign up at the table to my left. When your name is called, you would go to the middle of the chamber. There is a podium, and there's a device on that podium. When the light turns green, it will be your time to speak. When the light turns yellow, you will have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. When the light turns red, we'd ask that you please adhere to our guidelines and conclude your remarks. You will be given 3 minutes to testify. Mr. Decker, please call the first name on the list.
Tony Spadero. Commenting on 180251.
Morning.
Morning. I want to thank City Council for letting me testify today. My name is Tony Spadero, and I'm a fourth-year medical student at the University of Pennsylvania. I am also a national board member of Students for a National Health Plan, the largest health professional student single-payer advocacy organization in the country. We represent over 1,000 health professional students at over 50 universities, including the medical schools here in Philadelphia. In my short medical career, I've seen too many patients suffer under the current inequitable private health insurance system we have. I had a patient with sickle cell disease who spent many weeks out of the year in pain, hospitalized, keeping her from living her fullest potential, all because she couldn't see an outpatient pain specialist, because she couldn't find one that would take her insurance. I've had a patient with diabetes and back pain who couldn't work because of her back pain. She needed surgery for her back pain, but the surgeon couldn't operate on her because her diabetes was poorly controlled. Her diabetes was poorly controlled because she couldn't afford the copays on her diabetes medication that I tried to prescribe her. In what world does this system make sense? I take my professional responsibilities very seriously and always try to do the best for my patients. Unfortunately, the current system has my hands tied and causes patients to suffer, all for a higher profit of insurance companies. As the future of the healthcare profession, I am fighting for a more just and more equitable system, which is why I am glad to see Philadelphia City Council make this commitment to Medicare for All. I hope that City Council also shows their commitment by holding town halls in their districts around the city for their constituents to express their support for Medicare for All so that politicians at the federal level can see Philadelphia's support for this. By fixing the inefficient multi-payer system we currently have, we could rein in healthcare costs, which are currently greater than 17% of our GDP, more than any other country, yet we lag behind in terms of healthcare outcomes. We could use the money we save from a single-payer system to provide high-quality insurance for everyone and get rid of the barriers like copays, deductibles, limited networks that lead to unnecessary suffering for patients. Health professional students in Philadelphia and across the country support this resolution, and we want to let the federal government and the city government know they need to act to protect our patients' health.
Thank you for your testimony.
Willie Singletree, commenting on 180251.
Morning.
Good morning. My name is Willie Singletary, and I'm here with Healthcare for All. Would y'all all stand us here today? You're here to support this bill? I believe that healthcare is a right for all people, especially our children, regardless of their ability to pay. Nobody should go without proper medical care in the most powerful free world. Everyone knows that in America, that healthcare it was broken. It was broken before Affordable Act Care, and it's still broken even afterwards, even though we made some progress. Forces millions of people to pay for insurance they can't afford to use because deductibles are so high. Millions are still left without coverage, and costs are skyrocketing for everyone. There has always been a simple solution to our healthcare mess. Cover everyone with a one-payer system. Private insurance companies have been allowed by generations of corrupt politicians to become monopolies with the power to extort many hundreds of billions of dollars from the American people each year. The health insurance industry spent $150 billion in 2016 in lobby expenses alone to protect their monopoly. Money that could have been spent on providing care and saving lives. And as I testified today, I strongly support health care for all Philadelphians, Pennsylvanians, and the entire United States of America. Health care is not a right. It's a right. It's a right and not a privilege. With one payer system, we could have a good health coverage, increase the number of doctors and care facility, and stop Big Pharma from gouging American consumers. I thank you, Mr. President, but we have to come together and get everyone covered in the United States and, more importantly, Philadelphia.
Thank you for your testimony.
Vitaly Medili, commenting on 180251.
Morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Natalie Mediri, and I work for an organization called Healthcare for All Pennsylvania. We are a group dedicated to building a constituency for single-payer healthcare across the state of Pennsylvania in red districts and in blue. Many people in this room are going to make the moral, medical, and economic case for single-payer healthcare, but I want to focus on the political case for single-payer, which is too often shoved to the side. For too long, public officials have readily dismissed single-payer as a divisive issue that threatens to break solidarity within the Democratic Party. And therefore, their reasoning is that we must settle for affordable instead of comprehensive health care to ward off further attacks on working people. To that I say, as long as we have a healthcare system that is broken, that works for the few and not the many, healthcare will continue to be a divisive political issue in this country. Like we saw with Donald Trump's election, many will flock to whichever candidate voices their family struggles around healthcare the loudest. We must have a solution for this problem and solve the issue of our current healthcare system's politics being unsustainable. As long as municipalities and counties across the state of Pennsylvania must keep pace with rising healthcare costs at the expense of funding our schools and repairing our crumbling infrastructure, then voters in Pennsylvania will fail to see the value in a well-funded public sector, and the politics of our current healthcare system will be unsustainable. 13 million Americans cast their vote in support of Senator Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All platform. Single payer is moral, it is economically just and responsible, it is immensely popular, and it is one of the key political issues that can unite a working class political base in this state. I urge every member of City Council not just to vote in support of this resolution, but also to join our coalition, help us build the movement for single payer right here in Philadelphia by working with us to hold town halls in all of your districts. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your testimony.
Marty Harrison, commenting on 180251.
Hi, my name is Marty Harrison. I'm a nurse at Temple University Hospital and a member of my union there, PASNAP. Hi, my name is Marty Harrison. I'm a nurse at Temple University Hospital and a member of my union there, the Pennsylvania Association of Staff Nurses and Allied Professionals. We and our technical and professional colleagues at the bedside and across the city provide health care. We maintain blood pressures, we clear airways, we hold hands, we wipe tears. The insurance companies provide no health care. The insurance companies provide only payment for that care. As clinicians like Tony, I take my role as a patient advocate very seriously, and that role compels us to bring the fight for safe and effective patient care out of our hospitals, clinics, and other facilities and into places like City Council to say unequivocally that improved Medicare for all without regard to income, employment, or legal status, it's what's best for all patients in Philadelphia. Philadelphia is home to a wealth of world-renowned healthcare institutions that provide cutting-edge therapies and do next-generation research. We have the highly skilled, experienced, educated workforce to do those things, and we should be proud of this excellent tradition. But Philadelphia is also the poorest of the 10 big US cities and demonstrates stark healthcare disparities. I know we were all dismayed by the recent statistics about disparate, wildly disparate life expectancies in Philadelphia by zip code. So though we have the resources to provide excellent care to every Philadelphian, what's missing is the political will to let us do our jobs and provide that care. We call on City Council to pass this resolution and in fact do more to take the next concrete steps to make Medicare for all a reality in Philadelphia. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Rachel Ambrose, commenting on Councilwoman Gimm's resolution introduced today on Transgender Day of Visibility.
Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity to join you on this wonderful spring day in the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. I am proud and honored to be here today to represent the LGBTQ Home for Hope and as a voice of the transgender community. My name is Rachel Ambrose, and I am a transgender woman. I am a feminist, a lesbian, a musician, a volunteer, a positive voice, and a proud parent of 3 great children, one of whom is part of our LGBT rainbow. I came to Philadelphia 12 years ago, a much different person than the one you see before you today. I was a lost and conflicted soul, pretending to be the man that the world saw, caught up in self-destruction, searching for an answer to who am I. In Philadelphia, I found myself and a city in which I could prosper. If this city was not the diverse, welcoming city that it is, I may not have been here today. This resolution of visibility today marks another milestone for the city and its transgender community. We have made much progress and seen great strides towards equality, yet there is much more hard work ahead. With the current hostile political climate in Washington towards LGBT rights and the rights of many marginalized populations, we find our progress yet again under assault. Trans women of color, in particular, are bearing the large portion of this hatred. Yet, we have persisted, and we must remain persistent. We are not the false stereotypes that many use as weapons of discord against us. We are doctors, lawyers, police officers, nurses, and cashiers at the local grocery store. Today, we are television stars, Academy Award winners, and yes, even state senators. We are your neighbors, siblings, and parents. We are a vital piece of the mosaic of diversity that is this city. I wish to thank this city and all those that make progress like this possible. Thank you for taking action for us and with us. With this resolution, our city stands proud, hand in hand, in the light of hope with its transgender citizens. Thank you, Councilwoman Jim, for introducing this resolution and your fierce allyship to the transgender community. And thank you to the members of City Council for your support. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you for your testimony.
Dearman Campbell. Commenting on Councilwoman Gim's Transgender Day resolution introduced today.
Good morning, the members of the council and also to the fellow Philadelphians. My name is Tiernan Campbell, and I feel honored to be a speaker at such a significant event as this. Okay. I am here as a representative of the LGBTQ Home for Hope, which is a shelter and a recovery program for the LGBTQ community, and also as myself, a transgender woman who's living happily in the city that accepts and supports me. A few years ago, at the beginning of my medical transition, I thought the lack of acceptance was going to taunt me relentlessly every day. I would wait for the 23 bus and let 2 or 3 pass by, looking in the windows, judging quickly whether the group of the passengers would accept me, then finally board one very squeamishly, averting my eyes from everyone else's. I learned quickly that many people knew about transgender people and really didn't give us a second thought. I call it self-education through awareness. People here raised the city raised the awareness, and the people seem to have responded by reading more, asking more, noticing more. The Transgender Day of Visibility is, for me, my most important day. Today's resolution says that Philadelphia wants the world to know about us and treat us with the respect and dignity we deserve. Today's resolution means that this historical city recognizes transgender people as people deserving of equality. Today's resolution means that this city knows that trans people exist. And now on our special day, we can focus our attentions on the work we've done, and we can celebrate all those who came before us for their contributions. We can celebrate them for practicing the most fundamental type of protest, activism through existence, while uplifting the voices of transgender individuals everywhere, fighting for their visibility and living out loud. Awareness is just the beginning, and it leads to self-education, understanding, and eventually acceptance. Bigotry and hate cannot live in an environment of acceptance and caring. So thank you for raising the awareness, acting with us, and supporting visibility for our strong, brave transgender community. Philadelphia now, as in the past, sets the standard. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Jamie Flamer, commenting on Councilwoman Gim's Transgender Day resolution introduced today.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Morning.
Good morning, City Council, and good morning to Philadelphians. My name is Journey Flamer. Good morning, City Council and fellow Philadelphia citizens. It is a tremendous honor and privilege to be recognized as a trans woman of color. In this magnitude, there resides in my heart a sense of healing, a sense of togetherness, and a sense of unity among people of all nationalities, nations, creed, and religions. It is a tremendous honor to stand side by side to members of City Council to represent trans women of color whose voices are rarely heard due to unlawful death and hate crimes. I have learned through my life experiences that I have to become the positive change that I want. I would like to cultivate this change by love, compassion, and empathy to create these positive changes in the universe. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you for your testimony.
Reno Wright, commenting on Councilwoman Gim's Transgender Day resolution introduced today.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Thank you all for me, this is important just to even be here in this podium talking about Trans Visibility Day is like a dream come true for me. I'm a 27-year veteran of LGBT advocacy, and I remember and was here the first time we came here to just get our rights, you know, as the gay community. Back then we weren't so broken down. But I am here today, you know, not to go for prepared notes and anything like that, but just to give you all a sense of how important this day is for the average person that's not involved with a political organization or hasn't joined, you know, a facility of any kind, but just living. I'm from North Philadelphia. I'm 45 years old, and I've struggled with my gender and sexual identity since I was 6 years old at Frederick Douglass Elementary School. And I had to fight off the different things, what society told me and what my family told me, and I had no references to think about or go to find somebody that was like me. So I found myself, personally, in the history pages of Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth, and those people who weren't labeled as women because of different secondary features they may have, being tall, big hands, you know, really strong or muscular. I happen to possess those characteristics. But we were treated, or those women were treated inhuman and different, and, you know, I obtained that treatment as I grew up throughout this process. So this Visibility Day for me kind of stems, like, there is recognition in our city that people like me exist, which is something that I didn't have when I was 6 or 7 or in my teenage years struggling with puberty and gender identity. I had no reference. So this bill today and recognizing trans visibility means that I can have a reference. I can go somewhere. I can forget those thoughts of suicide and those attempts of suicide and feeling isolated and alone because I have a reference. I can go somewhere. So we're talking about healthcare. We haven't talked about mental health. We haven't talked about the hate crimes and the beating and the physical abuse. What about the mental abuse, the emotional abuse, the psychological abuse? We haven't even touched those subjects. But having a Trans Visibility Day means that we can address them in the future. So I just wanted to put it out there that the regular person, not affiliated with any organization, is out here hoping for this day as well. Thank you all for your time and attention.
Thank you for your testimony.
Joe Danahill, commenting on 160720 and 180170.
Morning.
Good
Morning. This is an official decree of the people, writ mandamus quo warranto, as such requires immediate action remedy. Every week, council, mayor, and others transfer private property to the government, probably illegally. As stated in Constitution and law, you are representatives of the people. Your constituents do not authorize your clear violations of both Constitution and law to steal their homes and create homelessness. After honoring 6 ABC anchors today, is fake news media allowing the creation of this homelessness by routinely refusing to cover public comment section of the city council meetings? Why has no official or media demanded investigation or prosecution of upwards of $100 million, mostly federal taxpayer HUD money, to build a mall on my stolen home as required by law? Was current DA in several council meetings and is well aware of both Constitution and law violations? Is Commonwealth Attorney General refusing to act on numerous complaints filed by me with his office? Laws are like Bibles. Unless they are followed, nothing changes. The Constitutions require immediate remedy of this breach of law, breach of clause, breach of fiduciary duty. Your oath of office requires you to act or face prison. 42 U.S.C. 1982, 1983, 1985, 1986, 1987, 18 U.S.C. 241, 242, 2381, 2384, PA Constitution, Article 1, Sections 1 through 11, 26 PA CSA, 703, 705, 708, 709, 712, 713, 716, and other laws listed in SCOTUS 158965, 141330, 144056 appear violated. I call for the federal and Commonwealth governments to perform their constitutional obligations to investigate and prosecute all involved in the theft and illegal deed transfer of my home, 1038 West Wyoming Avenue, the denial of God-given 42 U.S.C. 1982 property rights for 24 years is egregious, extraordinary, oath violating, and requires immediate remedy. A just government must obey the rule of law. This color law government must have its charter to govern revoked until a constitutionally compliant government is installed. Public servants cannot refuse their sworn duty to act any more than a fireman can refuse to fight a fire. The sovereign people require oath Constitution laws be enforced, and jail is required for all who violate oath Constitution or law. I remind council, it takes a lot of cooperation to create and allow monumental corruption.
Thank you for your testimony.
There are no other speakers on the public comment list, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. That concludes our public comment session. We'll now consider the bills and resolutions on the second reading and final passage calendar. Mr. Decker, please read the title of 180-243.
A resolution urging the Pennsylvania General Assembly to adopt legislation to create a statewide Keystone Scholars Higher Education Savings Program.
And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
Been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution 180-243 has been adopted. Mr. Decker, resolution number 180-245.
A resolution also naming the 3800 block of Cambridge Street Dr. Carl S. Moore Way in honor of Dr. Moore's activism and his tireless efforts in fighting for a better future for the African American community.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution 180-245 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 180-250.
A resolution calling on the United States Congress to support the passage of the TIP Income Protection Act.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. 180-250 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 180-251.
A resolution urging the United States Senate to pass S. 1804, the Medicare for All Act of 2017, and affirming universal access to health care as a human right.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gibb.
Thank you very much, Council President. I want to thank all the members of the community who came out on this important issue, and with that, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. Chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Just that I want to be recorded as voting nay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I'm sorry. Chair recognizes Councilman Taubenberger. All right. And Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Same here. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. All right, let's start that. There's been a motion and a second on 180251. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, let the record reflect that there were 3 nays, Councilman Taubenberger, Councilman O'Neill, and Councilman O. The majority rules, 180251 has been adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of 171-109-A.
An ordinance providing for the submission to the qualified electors of the City of Philadelphia, the proposal set forth in a resolution approved by council proposing an amendment to the Philadelphia Home Rule Charter relating to the provision of mandatory training for city officers and employees regarding sexual harassment in the workplace.
This bill has been heard on 2 separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Dom. Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee. Councilwoman Gim. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O. Councilwoman Parker. Councilwoman Corona Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Taubenberger. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 17. The nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, please read the title of 180012.
An ordinance amending Section 21105 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Hero Awards by increasing the amount that may be awarded to family members of firefighters, police officers, and prosecution detectives killed in the course of performing heroic deeds.
This bill has been heard on 2 separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Dom. Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee. Councilwoman Gim. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O. Councilwoman Parker. Councilwoman Corona Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Taubenberger. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 17, the nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, 180170.
An ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grades in a portion of City Plan Number 322 by striking from the City Plan and vacating Glenlock Place from McGargy Street to its terminus northeastwardly therefrom, striking from the City Plan and vacating Dittman Street from a point southwest of Talbot Street to its terminus further southwestwardly therefrom, and striking from the City Plan and abandoning a certain drainage right-of-way which extends between the said termini of Glenlock Place and Dittman Street.
This bill has been heard on 2 separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Dom. Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee. Councilwoman Gim. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill. Councilman O. Councilwoman Parker. Councilwoman Corona Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Taubenberger. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 17, the nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, do you have any additional resolutions?
A resolution supporting the settlement agreement reached between the United States Department of Justice on behalf of the Environmental Protection Agency and Philadelphia Energy Solutions, introduced by Councilman Heenan.
Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
I move for the adoption of the resolution. Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. Resolution is adopted.
And a resolution proclaiming and designating the week of March 18, 2018 through March 24, 2018 as National Public Defense Week in honor of the 55th anniversary of the U.S. Supreme Court decision in Gideon versus Wainwright and in recognition of the dedication and commitment of public defenders who seek justice for our indigent populations across the country, introduced by Councilman Jones.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Committee on Commerce and Economic Development to hold hearings examining strategies to increase diversity and inclusion in Philadelphia's technology sector, introduced by Councilman Johnson.
Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Council President, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing the Taney Youth Baseball Association on the occasion of its 25th season, introduced by Councilman Johnson.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President. I also want to acknowledge primary sponsor of this bill, my colleague, Councilman Mark Squilla. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing April 2018 as Autism Awareness Month in the City of Philadelphia and honoring Dr. Wendy Ross, founder of Autism Inclusion Resources and director of the Center for Pediatric Development, introduced by Councilman Green.
Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution commemorating the National Association of University Women on its Founders' Day, introduced by Councilwoman Parker.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution acknowledging and recognizing Amplify Philly, a partnership of public and private organizations that join together to highlight Philadelphia's startup and tech community and promote Philadelphia as a hub for startups at the 2018 South by Southwest Conference and Festival in Austin, Texas, introduced by Councilman Dom.
Chair recognizes Councilman Dom.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to recognize two people specifically in this resolution, which is Dave Silver, the Philly founder of REC and one of the organizers behind Amplify Philly. He coordinated the whole event at South by Southwest, instrumental. And Michelle Freeman, the CEO of Witty Gritty, another organizer behind Amplify Philly, played critical roles in highlighting what Philadelphia has in technology, entrepreneurship, and civic engagement. And with that, I'd like to move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that is adopted.
And a resolution declaring March 31, 2018 as Transgender Day of Visibility in the City of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Gim.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gim.
Thank you very much, Council President. I want to acknowledge my co-sponsors on this bill, on this resolution, rather, Council members Green, Squilla, and Dom, and members of Council who've been incredibly supportive. I can't express any more than some of the testifiers who spoke today about the importance of what it means to honor those with the courage, tenacity, and resilience, and who've been on the forefront of fighting for respect, dignity, radical love, and equitable justice. I'm incredibly grateful to our advocacy community. I'm honored to have our two rock star champions in the city, Amber Hikes from the Office of LGBT Affairs and Rue Landau from Philadelphia PCHR, also here with us today, as well as so many other advocates, BBWC, William Way Center, who make this city as vibrant and as loving as it is. And with that, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution honoring the life and activism of Rio de Janeiro City Councilor Marielle Franco and expressing solidarity with public officials and advocates across the globe who bravely speak out for human rights, introduced by Councilwoman Gim.
Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Gim.
I submit for Council's consideration a resolution that honors the life and legacy and activism of Rio de Janeiro City Councilor Marielle Franco, who was assassinated last week after speaking out about extrajudicial murders, rising police and military violence, and a demand for justice for her community. Marielle Franco was an incredible human rights advocate, a leader of the Brazilian Black rights movement. She was a Black single mother, a lesbian who rose out of one of the poorest favelas of Brazil. She fought tirelessly and courageously for the rights of women, young people, those who are LGBTQ, and those who lived in her favelas. She was also the only Black female councilor on Rio's 51-member city council. And when she was elected, she never stopped with her activism and legislative work, which, like her own identity, was deeply intersectional. She was also a staunch opponent of police militarization and frequently denounced the pervasiveness of killings by police officers of innocent Brazilians, notably those from favelas and who are Afro-Brazilian. And it is with great horror and sadness that a day after calling for an end to the military police state, both she and her driver were assassinated and shot after she spoke about young women moving political structures. Mariel's voice will never be silenced. She speaks for all of us who believe so much in the belief of human rights and freedoms for all, who understand the power of elected office. I ask that we pass this resolution with a standing vote to honor Rio de Janeiro City Councilor Mariel Franco, as well as the 6 trans people who have been murdered this year: Krista Lee Steele Newlison, 42 years old; Vicky Gutierrez, 33 years old; Tanya Harvey, 35 years old; Celine Walker, 36 years old; Felicia Mitchell, 45 years old; Zakaria Fry, 28 years old, and others who have been killed because they stood for justice, but whose voices and legacy remain with us today.
Been moved and properly second. Shall we stand? That resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and congratulating the University of Pennsylvania men's basketball team for an outstanding season in which it earned the title of 2018 Ivy League champions and competed in the 2018 NCAA men's basketball tournament. Introduced by Councilman O.
Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you. Move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
There are no other resolutions on the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. That concludes our calendar for the day. Are there any speeches on the part of the minority? Chair recognizes Councilman Taubenberger.
Thank you, Council President. Even though this is the second day of spring, there's over 10 inches of snow on the ground. But it also, and people in this chamber know I'm a little bit of a historian. I also like a little bit about the weather, as having 2 classes in meteorology at Penn State University. Just for the record, on March 21st, 1958, 60 years ago to the day yesterday, there was a similar storm producing over 10 inches of snow on the Philadelphia streets. But really, what comes down to this, I was interviewed, very delightfully so, on Weather Nation just yesterday. But they asked if the city were ready, and I said absolutely. I think we have one of the finest streets department in all the nation. This is Philadelphia. We have the equipment, we have the manpower, the woman power, and we also know what to do. We have institutional knowledge. So I want to commend those men and women who, while we were safe in our houses, cuddled up, which is a great thing, working hard, tirelessly, giving of their time to benefit so we could all go to work today. It's greatly appreciated by this council, and also I think the entire council as well, and all city employees. Appreciate their fine work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. We try to keep up with our parking authority bill and weekly try to check on numbers. This is the first day I'm mentioning it in council, but as all of you know, that we have until the end of April for people to sign up so that you can take advantage of the amnesty program. And what we want you to know is that so far, 3,947 people have signed up. Now, money that the city would not have received is $349,821. So we ask those who are listening, please, we only have until the end of April. Sign up, make an agreement. You can pay 10% down and have 2 years to pay for it. If you don't know if you have any and you think before 2013, maybe there was another tag number, post the $50. It's worth it so that if anything comes up, then you won't be fined. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I just want to follow up on Councilwoman Blackwell and say a hearty thank you, Councilwoman Blackwell, for your leadership on this issue. I'm very impressed by hearing the numbers that you just put on the record for us. I want you to know, Councilwoman, that on this past Monday, we held a meeting for residents in the 9th District who came to our meeting with the hopes of learning about the amnesty program and how they could in fact take advantage of it. Councilwoman, we had over 300 people respond and over 350 people to attend at the Finley Recreation Center at Upsall in Mansfield, and we're working on trying to get some done now that we've had this one. It's okay, you got to get to the other side of Broad Street now. So we're working on it, but that's only thanks to your leadership and our colleagues, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Keona Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we wrap up Women's Month, I just wanted to particularly acknowledge the women of council, Councilwoman Blondell Reynolds Brown, for bringing us all together around the legislative initiatives. And I want to thank all the enlightened men who've been attending the many events this month as we celebrate women, whether it's the Chamber of Commerce's Paradigm Award, the sororities, and others. It's really important that the Me Too phenomena really does become a movement. And while I'm encouraged, as Councilwoman Parker and I attended the Women's March, that there's a recognition by women that we need to do more than march, that we need to work better together, be better allies to each other. It's encouraging to have 500 women running for office this year, and hopefully some of those women will be victorious because women support those women, because women will write checks to those women. But I particularly want to thank people like my mom, the single mothers, the caretakers, all of those women who carry us every single day. It's not easy being in public service, not complaining. It is what it is. We can take it. But I just think it's hugely important, and that's, as I mentioned when Monica Malpass was here, the many activities, Councilwoman Blondell Reynolds, who sponsored many events for young women and others, we all have a responsibility to each other, and I want to leave the month of May feeling more than just encouraged, but really feeling hopeful about the future of the United States in light of what's going on in the White House. As Michael Kort said, with the orange man and the red tie, and I really do feel like we're living in a reality TV every single day when I watch those stories, and really concerned about the message that it's sending to young women who watch TV every day about what we allow men to get away with in today's society. So hopefully those 500 women will come join the struggle and change the course of where we're going politically. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. That concludes our speeches on behalf of the majority and minority. With that, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown for a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President, I move that council stand adjourned until Thursday, April 5th, 2018 at 10 a.m.
Thank you. It has been moved and probably second that council stand adjourned until Thursday, April 5th, 2018, 10 a.m. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Thank you all very much.